The Illinois Historic Preservation Agency welcomes you to Jubilee College State Historic Site, a memorial to one of Frontier Illinois' most ambitious and unusual educational enterprises.
Jubilee College at its peak in the 1840s and 50s covered a wilderness domain of over 3,000 acres, depicted here in an 1843 lithograph that shows Jubilee as envisioned by its founder, Bishop Philander Chase. Chase was 60 when in 1836 he moved to Illinois to become the state's first Episcopal bishop. As a young priest, he had served parishes in New York, Louisiana, and Connecticut before becoming the first bishop of Ohio in 1818.
There, he founded Kenyon College to educate priests for his frontier diocese, financing the school with funds collected on his first trip to England. But complaints about Chase's authoritarian style led to his departure from Ohio, and he was living in semi-retirement on a farm in Michigan's wilderness when called to the newly created Diocese of Illinois.
Chase and his wife Sophia, along with several of their children and friends, settled on a sparsely populated tract of government-owned land in Peoria County. Their first home was a double log cabin that Chase called the Robin's Nest because, he wrote, it was built of sticks and mud and filled with little ones.
Bishop Chase bought the land upon which he established Jubilee College in the fall of 1838. He took the school's name from the Old Testament and began constructing its first building, a combination chapel schoolhouse, in 1839. An Anglican bishop whom Chase had met on one of his fundraising trips to England provided the plan.
That building is the now restored chapel wing, which was completed in 1840 when Jubilee's first students, young boys enrolled in the school's preparatory department, arrived. The west wing was added in 1844. Chase's original plan called for incorporating both wings in a quadrangle intended to house his girls' school, but a shortage of funds forced the bishop to leave the quadrangle half-finished.
Chase used the two wings that were built not for girls, but for boys enrolled in Jubilee's college and preparatory departments. Male students attended classes, slept and worshiped in the combined chapel schoolhouse dormitory, and ate their meals at a nearby boarding house. Girls aged 8 to 14 who were enrolled in Jubilee's female department lived in Chase's home, where they studied under the watchful eye of the bishop's daughter, Mary, while a few theology students roomed with faculty members elsewhere on Jubilee's domain.
More students enrolled in the boys' preparatory school than in all other departments combined. In 1855, for example, Jubilee's register listed 65 students, 4 theology students studying for the priesthood, 12 young men enrolled in the college, and 49 boys studying grammar or high school subjects. By then, the tiny girls' school had closed.
Jubilee was a rural boarding school unlike any other in Frontier, Illinois. Its large domain not only provided income for the school, but was also intended to isolate students from disruptive outside influences. The bishop's son, Henry, supervised a farming operation on the college grounds that at one time included a flock of 2,000 sheep. Saw and grist mills were owned by the college, which also operated a store selling Eastern-made goods shipped in by river.
A characteristic blend of economics and education informed Chase's expectations for this store. It would, he hoped, produce revenue and also make it unnecessary for students to leave what he envisioned as the well-supervised environs of his school.
The college grounds are so defined that the institution controls the association of the students at all times and places, explained Chase.
Order and tradition defined Bishop Chase's vision for Jubilee College. A shortage of funds prevented him from erecting this stately edifice as Jubilee's main building, but his chapel schoolhouse dormitory was built and today bears silent testimony to his conservative ideals.
Chase's fondness for English ecclesiastical architecture is evident in the sandstone structure's Gothic features, which include buttresses, finials surrounding a central spire, and lancet windows pointing heavenward to evoke images of a more pious Christian age. Gothic-style pointed arches also appear on the pulpits in Jubilee Chapel, where Bishop Chase solemnly read his carefully written sermons. His was a spiritual vision of orderly and dignified simplicity that he pointedly distinguished from both Roman Catholicism and the exuberant spontaneity of the camp meeting Protestantism usually associated with frontier religion.
Familiar Gothic arches grace Bishop Chase's pulpit-like headstone in nearby Jubilee Cemetery. He died after falling from a carriage in 1852, and by then Jubilee was struggling with debt. Age and infirmity had forced the bishop in his last years to give up the fundraising tours that had been his school's lifeblood, leaving Jubilee less able to absorb the loss when a fire destroyed the college-owned mills in 1849.
Jubilee's head teacher, Samuel Chase, carried on after the bishop's death, but the school suffered another serious setback when in 1857 fire ravaged the West Wing. Enrollment and income dropped. The school declined until 1862, when Samuel closed what was left and enlisted as an army chaplain. Following the Civil War, he returned for a brief and unsuccessful attempt to revive Jubilee.
Several other grammar and high schools used Jubilee's grounds in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and each successive school remodeled the building to suit its own needs and tastes. In a similar way, the simple elegance of Bishop Chase's 1840 chapel yielded to a more ornate spirituality typical of late 19th century Episcopalian practices. A high school for boys that closed in 1912 was the last school to occupy Jubilee's old grounds.
Today, all that remains of Bishop Philander Chase's expansive and singular educational enterprise is the combination chapel schoolhouse dormitory building. It became state property in 1934 and was for many years part of the Jubilee College State Park. In 1971, the Citizens Committee to Preserve Jubilee College began working to assure the building's restoration, which was completed by the state in 1986. It is now open to the public through the efforts of dedicated volunteer interpreters who join with our staff in welcoming you to Jubilee College State Historic Site.